What's up, everybody? We're live today. It's the next episode of Nerf Herder Radio. Have a new guest with us tonight. It is my brother Brandon. Carter is out of town doing some family stuff, so you're stuck with the Turner boys tonight. So sorry for your loss, or thanks for joining us, I guess, whichever it might be. Got a lot of different stuff to talk about tonight. A lot of news kind of just dropped within the past couple hours today. Very interesting. One of the big things, of course, if you're a big Marvel fan, is the Spider-Man Sony Marvel possible breakup happening. Brandon, have you seen anything about that or read anything? Oh, okay. See, the last thing I saw was from two different spots. One was Joe Blow trailers, and which I like them. I like that guy's Facebook because I'm a movie buff, so lots of movie trailers there, so go check them out. But 6 hours ago, it basically said it was nearly impossible to make this happen, and then the deal was reached, but it's kind of on the ropes right now. A lot of it comes down to financing, and I think some creative control, and obviously there's merchandising that goes along with it. How much does Sony get versus Marvel? So there's a lot of money being exchanged here. A friend of mine that I used to work with, Michael Lynch, posted on his Facebook about it, and he kind of brought up a good point, and it kind of goes along this line of, doesn't Disney make enough movie to maybe throw a bone to Sony, and isn't Sony getting enough cash out of this already to not make that big of a deal about it, and let's do something for the fans? Because frankly, to me, Holland playing Spider-Man and he's Spider-Man. Like I can't see somebody else being Spider-Man. To me, I grew up for the longest time. Keaton played Batman, and he was Batman. And then you had Clooney and Kilmore, bat nipples, and horrible situations there. Chris O'Donnell, it's bad. But Keaton played a good Batman, and then we got Christian Bale for a really good 3 series of Batmans. And even Ben Affleck wasn't the worst of the Batmans, I feel like. But I see, you had Andrew Garfield. I thought he did a pretty good job as Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire was okay until we got emo Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3. But, what does Sony have in its pocket right now that's going to be successful with? That Venom did pretty well. They're making a sequel. Does Sony have anything else in the chamber that could be a blockbuster hit for them? Because this has been the top one for them so far. Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. They're pulling it out of the Marvel universe and kind of putting him in his own universe, and he's the anti-hero kind of. I like it. I think it's just different way. It's them taking a character they have rights to and making it their own and trying to stand it up to be something. Venom's going to kind of be the anti-hero. Sequel's going to can't talk. Wow, sorry about that, folks. Not the internet, it's my voice. They're going to introduce Carnage. They introduced Carnage at the end of Venom, spoiler warning. And in this next one, it looks like they're going to continue that. So, to me, I think that's an interesting route to take, because you got to have a villain and you got to have a hero. You just can't have two villains going at it. But, what else? We got Venom. I don't. I'm a movie person, but with work and life, I don't really follow too much like the studios that are out there and what they have going into it, unfortunately. But do we think, Yeah, it was. I liked it. I thought it was cool because I wasn't a realize I never realized Spider Ham existed. Spider Noir existed. The other ones kind of were kind of no brainers to me, but everybody's like, oh, it's this amazing movie, and I thought the animation styles were really cool that they kind of pulled from and inspired from for different genres. You and I got to see that when we watched what was it, Into the Matrix? Remember when the Matrix was coming out? Which is part of some news tonight too that kind of just I found out about, but we'll talk about later. But they had the End of the Matrix. They had the CG version, the different animation styles and stuff, and they kind of did that same thing within Into the Spider-Verse. But to me, it was just a Miles Morales origin story, and it was kind of cool to see Spider-Gwen and stuff. I'd love to see that more be introduced somehow. But Sony owns it all, and who knows what they're going to really do with it. But moving on though. I know that Gamescom's going on, and there was a big reveal. It was like the first kind of like 15 minutes, kind of the training video of the new Marvel Avengers game that's coming out. Have you seen anything about that? You know who's producing it, right? Or developing it, I should say. Yeah. Yeah, well, they it forcibly switches you between characters from this prequel game or this pre-alpha gameplay we saw. You start out you're playing kind of as Thor, and then as you kind of progress through, at some point you run into Iron Man, and it immediately phases you over to doing the Iron Man piece of it, and then it phases you over to Hulk, and then to each one of them you kind of play as all the characters, and Marvel did a stream with a couple of guys commenting on it, and I just felt like it was very scripted, and I'm very surprised by the developer. Square Enix is the one in with Crystal Dynamics, I think it is. They're the ones that are developing the game. So Square's doing it, and Square's known for doing some really really great games. You and I've played a ton of them growing up, between Secret Mana, the Final Fantasies, the more oddball stuff like Parasite Eve. I mean, they've done tons of these amazing titles and these story games like this, and I just watched this and I was very unenthused. I'm gonna hold out hope. It's kind of funny because I've recently just replayed Final Fantasy 15 again. It's got the Kingsglaive movie and stuff tied to it, and I really felt like I was just watching a reskinned version of that game with some superhero characters. So to me, I was kind of bummed, but at the same time, I'm just I don't know. I felt like when you're watching the gameplay, and I wish I could pull the stream up because I'd have to cut your face off because I'm screen capturing you on Skype. So it's, I don't know what the opinions are of our audience viewers, if they want me to cut you out or not. But with the Marvel piece of it, it was just like, yeah, I didn't feel like you're really powerful. It's like, I mean, these are just normal people with body armor and laser, pulse rifle guns or whatever, shooting the characters and stuff. And I mean, you see Hulk literally picking one guy up and doing the Loki smash with him, and then swinging him around his head and throwing him into other people and stuff. But it's like one hit should knock 90% of these guys down, and it's like you're having to like 3 or 4 hit them. So it's like I don't feel like you're that powerful superhero character. So I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I mean they do take criticism and do stuff to adjust it pretty well. Speaking of Square, though, when we talking about them, just jumping around, everybody probably loves me talking about this because they're 20-year-old, 22-year-old games and whatnot. But I've kind of been on this Final Fantasy binge, and Square's doing the remake of Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, I'm assuming you've seen that. You played that game like a heroin addict. Terrible analogy, sorry. But yeah, I mean, you and I both played that game for hours on it. I remember you playing it through the end, and us getting the strategy guides, and I was back in the. Oh my gosh, I remember you doing that just so you get the gold one, so you could get the special materials and whatnot. But they're also doing a remaster of Final Fantasy VIII. Did you see that? So I thought that was interesting because they're stirring up some stuff here, and I thought that was kind of interesting because I'm really excited about the Final Fantasy VII remake. However, it's going to be more episodic, and like the first one's going to be them like in Midgar only, and then they're going to break them out into chunks, which I think is cool because it gives them some elasticity here to bring us something. But is it going to be a full game? Is it going to be a full substance, or is this going to be a I'll play through it and beat it in a weekend and wait, a year for episode 2, which could be who knows what, the Golden Saucer or the Cosmo Canyon map or whatnot. But eight to me was one I really enjoyed a lot, and I'm kind of excited they're bringing that one back so I can play it on PC now. But what were your thoughts on 8? I know that was one that was it was not very well received. I know you liked, I think it was 9 and the one with Titus where they had the water ball game and all that, but... Yep.
The magic works and everything, but as far as the best story, to me, 8 hands down has the best story.
Gotcha.
9, I played 9, and I couldn't follow the story. I didn't know why I was chasing the bad guy. I didn't understand the plot.
And that's the one where you're playing like with the little kids and stuff with the little black mage dude, right?
Right, that's when they brought back this, it was very character class driven of, this guy is the black mage, this person is the white mage, this person is the knight, this person is this, which is not bad. They all kind of did that in different ways, but it made it to where I couldn't follow the game. So 9 is not one of my favorites. At least I only played it once. I probably need to play it a few more times to really see if I actually would enjoy it or would it be a better thing to play.
Yeah.
I only played it once, and then I played through 10. 10, I liked 10 just because I think 10 was where they changed some of the battle systems and some of how everything was working. I liked 10's big skill tree. You could grow out however you want and move your character around and make it better.
Yeah, I remember that. And that was also the one with the dude who had like the big samurai sword in his arm and he would spit in the giant wine jug and do all sorts of... That was the one with Titus, right?
Yeah, it had Titus and the Blitzball.
Blitzball, that's what it was called.
And I think you're fighting Sin.
Yes.
And then I think 11 went online, and I haven't played anything past... I don't even played 11.
Yeah. So I after 8, and I never even finished 8, just because it was on PS1, and you had it, and we lived in different homes and stuff at the time, so it was kind of like, let me go smuggle the game out Mission Impossible style without you catching me. That never worked. But 8 I never finished.
Hands off my games.
Yeah, I know. We always fought about games, guys. By the way, sorry. Apparently, I didn't have it your audio streaming for a second. I had you muted, so I apologize to everybody. So if anybody wasn't hearing anything, that's why. It wasn't like you were going deaf partially. It was production's fault, not me. So, but yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I hope that I'm curious to kind of see, because Square's kind of been kind of quiet. I feel like for a while, they've really been pushing Final Fantasy Online. And I hadn't played anything since 8, and then I picked up 15 because it looked interesting. Because I'm a sucker for a good movie, and you look like you have a cat coming out the side of your head right now. It's quite awesome. Oh, you're good, but just kind of comical. So my ADD's kicking in. Anyway, I haven't played anything since 15, and 15 had a movie tie-in, so that's what caught my attention, and so that's what I've been playing. And I hope that they kind of really kind of bring back the single player campaign type Final Fantasy experience. 15 was one they say that was for newcomers and for fans of the original series, and I see it, but it still was. I've always been wanting more with it and how they did it. I felt like it was short, but I think that there's hope for me there with some of that going forward.
I played a few minutes of 15, and then I never played it again.
Yeah, it wasn't for everybody. I remember that. So, outside of that, there's some interesting stuff. I don't know. Do you ever play Apex Legends? Have you played any of the free-play Battle Royale type games?
I've played some of the Battle Royale stuff. but I haven't played Apex Legends at all.
Gotcha. Okay. So I play this one every now and then on PC mostly. It's on Xbox, PS1, I think, as well. And I really like it, but I thought it was interesting because there was a huge thing on the internet apparently. Some developers were on Reddit, and we try to keep it PG family ended here, but basically the developers were on Reddit and basically started referring to the gamers that play the game as asshats, freeloaders, and dicks. Just because of some of the frustrations and stuff, and there's a lot of it's around some of the loot crate, the garbage that you pay for that's all cosmetic in these games. Everybody's like, oh, you're not awesome unless you look like John Wick in Fortnite, or you're not awesome unless you have the character skin, or she's got the glowing spike or whatever. It does nothing to actually help you in the game. It's just cosmetics. I guess you could argumentatively say some of the cosmetics can help you camouflage into the arena you're in a little bit, based on the terrain. So I will acknowledge that to an extent, but it was kind of based off of that, and then you pay basically people saying we're not getting as it really boiled down to is they're not getting the revenue they were thinking from all these loot boxes and stuff you can buy through the game, and so it. People are actually kind of slowly migrating off of Apex based off the article I read and back to Fortnite and some of the other ones. And so there's always been this fluctuation of battle between who's going to be the big battle royale game. We've talked about it a bunch on the show before with Carter and Ray and whatnot. And I don't think they're ever going to go away. I don't think we're ever going to see anything, major disruption there. We're just going to see some additions and some things kind of maybe pick up. Ring of Elysium was one. It's kind of fluttered out. Call of Duty introduced Battle Royale, and everybody's kind of like, is your game going to release with one, or is it just going to be a solo game without that? And I don't think it makes or breaks a game. I think there's a market for it, but I think it has to be done in a way that draws the audience in. And Apex does seem to be a little more of a mature audience than the Fortnite, that generation of kids who basically grind their parents into submission over begging for V-Bucks or whatever else for them to buy. And I've seen tons of articles like, I can't get my kid to go outside, but I told him if he goes outside, every day for 2 hours or an hour a day for a week, I'll buy him 20 V-Bucks or whatever. And that's how they're getting it. I'm serious. I've seen that kind of stuff. Or if they get the chores done, I buy them V-Bucks, and it's like, you know what? But to me, it's just kind of like you are literally feeding money into something that gives you nothing tangible. It's an ingenious money and business operations model. So I see that we have a new follower too. Thanks Shadowhorns for joining us. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm just that industry is very weird to me, because when you go to these FPS battle royale games, you get into these groups, and you've always got the kid who's got the music playing, or he's just talking the whole time, or hey, let me try this, oh, we can hack this, instead of just playing the game. And then you got the guy that literally wants to scream at you the whole time because you're a level 1 and he's a level 600 and you suck and you can't. It's very toxic, I feel like, with these online games like that. So I don't know if you experienced that a whole bunch either. I mean, I typically have kind of veered away from online and played more single player stuff just because I don't want to deal with it.
I get my butt kicked in StarCraft 2 a lot, and that's about it. I played Fortnite with Alex, one of our nephews, for just a minute.
Yep.
And otherwise, I don't really play these games. I am completely anti-EA, so now that I see that Apex is an EA thing...
Oh, yeah, it's Respawn, which is owned by EA.
Yep.
So
I don't touch their stuff. The only way you get people to change is to quit playing their crap.
Yep.
So I've quit playing their crap. I'm not going to play Borderlands 3 until it's on Steam. I'll ignore it and let it be in the Epic Store exclusive.
That's right. It's an Epic Store exclusive. Yeah, that's the other thing.
For 6 months. It's exclusive for 6 months, and then it's free. So, or not free, but then it's on Steam.
Yeah.
And so I'll play it when it comes out on Steam, because you want people not to screw you over and not to do things we don't like. Quit playing their crap.
Now, you bring up a good thing, and this is not something we planned on talking about, and we only got about 10 minutes left in the show, but you bring up the Epic Store, things getting exclusive to Epic. Now, Epic, I don't know if you've seen it or not, their big push is to try to drive less money back into their store commerce pocket and more back to the game developers. So where
Right.
like Steam takes
like
like
a 30
30%. Yeah, Steam takes like 30%. I think Epic's pushing for like 20, or saying we'll only take 20%. And it's I get why they publicly why they're doing it is they can say, hey, we're trying to be a good guy to you, the developer, EA, BioWare, whoever. Excuse me. But in reality, it's to try to cannibalize the market and get some people, hey, yeah, the developer can make it, we'll make it exclusive so we make money off of it as well. There probably is some truth to like, hey, we want to make the market better for the industry so that they can take that extra 10% and invest it back into the games and stuff, but they're probably going to just hold on to it for profit. But at the same time, it really all it does is create this disruption and this fragmentation to where you have to, get your game. Because EA sells stuff direct. I can go to Epic. I can go to Steam. I can buy it from Amazon, get a code, and I can put it in probably just Steam, I think, is the only thing I've ever gotten from them to work. Or, I can cross my fingers to find a retail box copy if they exist somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just like the streaming market right now. We went from having Netflix and Steam to play all your games on and watch all your movies on to everyone's got their own doodad and everything's spread out in their own doodad, and it's like, this
well,
is why
Netflix disrupted the market.
Went down when all this stuff was in one place.
Yep.
You gotta watch all your movies on Netflix, play all your games in Steam. Piracy went down. We're gonna see this big hike back in piracy really bad because people aren't going to want to pay for 12 different services and have my game spread out over Epic and Origin and Uplay, Steam. They're going to be everywhere. It's going to be crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point when you talk about the streaming services. When it was just Netflix, maybe Hulu, and you just had an antenna, and best of luck, that's what you got.
Yep. And really, Hulu, when it first came out, was for TV.
Yeah.
You could, Netflix had movies, and Hulu had all the TV.
Yep.
So if you want to see something current on TV, you could get in Hulu, and then if you want to see something, a movie, it's in Netflix.
Yep.
And now they've kind of got both, which is fine. But now Netflix is going to lose 90% of their content to the Universal app, the Disney Plus.
I'm very curious to see how it's going to pan out because everybody, I remember for the longest time it's like, oh my gosh, my cable bill's $200. And you call them and like, oh, we'll put you in this plan for 12 months. And then I've gotten to where I have a reminder in my phone for, 10 months later to call back and be like, hey, anything we can do here? Or call right when those things are ending and be like, yeah, I'm going to cancel that because I was going to do that with my, I use Charter Spectrum streaming TV and we just don't use it. So it's like $40 off my bill to cancel it. Call them. Hey, we'll up your internet, to double your internet speed from 200 to 400 meg, and it'll only be like $17. It'll be $17 cheaper, which is about in line with what you're going to just pay just for having internet for a year. All right, cool. Got a reminder in my phone. I'll call back, cancel it then. But, I say all that because used to you just paid the cable bill and you hated it, or you just didn't have cable. And then you moved to having Netflix. Now it's Netflix, Hulu, like you said, CBS, ABC, NBC, Universal. You're going to pay just as much in having all the streaming services you would just to have a cable plan. It's very much. I feel like it's a very diabolical backdoors, bunch of mean corporate guys with their cigars going, yeah, let's rock all these things in and get all our money back, terrible mob boss voice.
It's you're going to go from there. You just had TV and internet, and they didn't care about bandwidth. Then at one point, it was all of a sudden like, oh, we'll only give you 500 meg. And now, like, on Xfinity, they give me a terabyte. And I think, I'm not sure, AT&T was this way with their Uverse service, for me at least. They said, if you have TV and internet with us, we don't care how much bandwidth you eat up.
Yep.
Don't care. And that's how they sell it now, is that, hey, you're using up all this bandwidth. Well, why don't you just buy our TV service, and then we don't care how much bandwidth you use. And if you end up with their TV service, you'll end up watching TV.
Yeah.
And you won't stream as much.
It's that slippery kind of manipulative slope. Luckily Charter doesn't have a cap. I will say too, we talked about this last week. We do a tip of the week, which we'll get into here in a second that I've got. But one of the guys in our Discord group was talking about how he's having issues with his internet. And so we were like, hey, get a new router. Try that out first. Because he had like a 6-year-old router. It's kind of one like the old school Blue Linksys ones we used to have. Those workhorses, the dinosaur ones. They would never die. And they just worked. But the problem is technology changes and advances, and you actually lose performance. So he upgraded to an Orbi mesh router instead of using the one from his provider. And 2 things happened. One is in-home network sped up. And 2, Comcast could only see that was the one device connected to his house. And if he had more than 5 devices, they automatically throttled his internet speed down. So now he only has 1 device. He gets his full internet plan's expected contractual plan because they only see the 1 device because the router is his router and everything behind that's hidden. So there is something
Firewall.
to be said. Yeah. So again, to kind of recap from our tip last week, that's kind of why it's good to not use your provider's router. 1, better performance control. You don't have to pay for the maintenance and stuff for the fees that they tack onto your bill. But 2, it can help you with your internet speed as well. So, win-win for everybody. One of the things I wanted to talk about just in the next couple minutes here is we've talked about Game of Thrones a bunch on the podcast before. And, it's ended now. Like it or not, it's over. Jon's not the king. He's up north. Daenerys is the Mad Queen. You can share all your grievances with whoever you want to around it. I get it. But what's going to be the next big Game of Thrones, you think? There's a lot of different stuff in the works. Who is it? Amazon's working on a Lord of the Rings series, and they've poached tons and tons and tons of people from Game of Thrones and all these other places.
But they can't use any of the current Lord of the Rings stuff. They can't change anything to do with the lore. It's going to be about it's basically about the Second Age.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be characters we don't know. But that's not a bad thing.
But that's a good thing. We've already seen the movies. We've seen The Hobbit. We've seen if you grew up with the old school animated Hobbit and that really trippy half animated, half live digital Lord of the Rings movie that was real trippy. And then you had the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then we had the Hobbit, 2 movie pack. What do you call that? If it's not a trilogy, what is it?
Now, if you hadn't asked me, I'd know an answer to this question.
Well, you're terrible. But Netflix has got Witcher. There is, you talked about it, His Dark Materials, which ties off of Golden Compass.
The first book is called The Golden Compass. The book the series is called His Dark Materials.
Okay. See, I haven't read any of it, but that's one I've seen.
It's a really good read.
I'm probably gonna get it. Dune's gonna get remade by Warner Brothers. So yeah,
good estimates.
But Witcher's gonna be on Netflix. That's been an old book series for a while. And there's a lot of other ones I've never even heard of too. But what do you think? You think I think HBO is, it's going to be where the money and the marketing goes to. I think more than anything else. And so I think you called it pretty close, probably with His Dark Materials, Watchmen, and I think Witcher are going to be the big contenders. I feel like Witcher maybe as well.
I think in the end, because it's Netflix, I don't think Witcher's going to pick up that well. It's going to be good. I'm not saying it's going to be bad or anything, but just in general, I don't see Netflix trying to build an 8-season giant arc show. Yeah. They're really spending content because they're losing all their content.
Yeah.
They've got to make their own stuff. So I think HBO is going to probably fall best in line with Watchmen and with Dark Materials as far as which one's going to take off better. It's just really going to depend on the public. Are we tired of superheroes? And His Dark Materials is very fantasy-ish, but it's not, swords and shields.
Yeah.
And Watchmen isn't either. It's a superhero movie or series. So it's going to depend on what everyone wants that way.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'll be interested. Plus, I will have to say this too. Netflix typically after 4 seasons at most, I think 6. I think Orange is the New Black is their longest running series so far.
That or Voltron.
I know Voltron's definitely not in the running. I think it's only got like four seasons. But Netflix doesn't have long running series. Stranger Things is going to end after season 4. They've already confirmed.
Yeah.
and it's a great one. They could continue that if they wanted to. They could error push it back from the 80s into the 90s and start pulling a Goldbergs like they're doing on that TV show. And you know, you change the generation out and you make the nostalgia, but the 90s kind of sucked for everybody, as everybody says. Everybody likes to reminisce about the 80s and not the 90s.
Well, you know, parachute pants and the colors.
Kurt Cobain and all that, and the bright greens, yeah.
Yep.
So, you know,
the
neon, yes, that's what it was. I remember all that. Whew. So
we wore that, Jason.
Yeah. Don't remind me. Last thing I want to talk about real quick, because I have it in the ticker strip here, is an interesting article came out. It was talking about your data and kind of like, you know, somebody downloaded their Google data and what they found out about it. And it's basically people were sharing what information Google data was hiding about them when they downloaded it, and it was kind of crazy. And some of it was, you know, disturbing. Some of it was kind of like, wow, that microphone sucks or whatever else. And one of them says, apparently I sleepwalk thousands of kilometers at night and then managed to get back and home in time for work based off the data that they downloaded from Google around tracking their device location. One of them said he's like the vice president of a company he's never heard of. One of them I thought was interesting was he said, I found a recording of a meeting I was having with top officials of a government organization, which was supposed to be a secret. It also had the exact location and time. So, you know, there's tons of stuff about it, and I don't really get into the this side of the spectrum on the podcast, but I think it's interesting because I feel like as a society and as, you know, us as users of tech, you know, how much are we willing to compromise the data we have to get these services for free or for the convenience factor? Like, it is nice to have location on and have your phone say, hey, traffic's going to be bad. You might want to leave 10 minutes early. Or, typically you're heading out, to go get something at this time or leave to go to the office or whatever else. You should probably get moving. There is some convenience there, but that means we're being tracked. You know, somebody's storing that data somewhere, as we know. I mean, what point do we have to say convenience versus comfort and not comfort of convenience, but like comfort with peace of mind and controlling of our information?
Well, it comes down to really people of us starting to view data as an actual commodity like money. Until people realize that your data is something, while it's not tangible in your hands that you can hold and touch and do something with, your data is valuable, it's worth something to someone, and it needs to be protected just like your finances and any other information that shouldn't just sit in the public purview. And until we start thinking of things that way and we start asking the government to regulate and protect our data so that Google can't just cache billions of metadata points on us and have all this information where they sell it and just pawn it off to people. Where it's like, this is my private data. I've got to allow you to do it. And I need to be able to clearly see an opt-out option to say, this is not yours. It's not in the public purview and it can't be shared.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there was a great documentary on Netflix. I think it's called The Great Hack. It's about Cambridge Analytica, Trump election. Not going to get into all that. You can watch it and then form your own opinion on it. It's very eye-opening to see because the thing that caught my attention the most was Cambridge used the metadata they pulled from Facebook to target the voters who either wouldn't vote or were on the fence about who they would vote and tried to influence them based off of marketing videos on how to vote for the election in the U.S. Now, they tried to do it in Brexit. The person got up and said that they couldn't use it in Brexit because of how the EU classifies data and that usage as a weapon of mass destruction.
Yep.
Which to me is very eye-opening because at some point we have to say the data that is on us is a weapon and can be weaponized, and we've seen that in a lot of cases when you only have your phone on you and you're not even near it and you're like, man, my stomach's bothering me. I should probably get some Pepto. And you open your phone up and what do you get? An ad for Pepto or whatever.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we've got to start viewing our data as a commodity that's important to protect and to ensure that it's used properly and monitored correctly, and we can ensure it's protected.
Yep.
It's my data. It's not public forum information to be shared.
Yep. Agreed. I'm just waiting. I'm just curious when that day will happen. It probably won't happen in our lifetime. It'll be in our kids' lifetime, or we'll have a catastrophic something, a digital 9/11, if you will, occur that'll be so.
Then then you'll have the TSA watching your metadata. That'll be fun.
Well, I'm just saying I don't want the government, necessarily involved in that. I think at some point we have to say no, and either let me pay a fee, through my cell phone provider for that stuff to get blocked, or Google the OS is open source. We have to crack down on the privacy conditions and the usage conditions and all these little terms and stuff. I don't know, but we're running out of time, and I don't want us to. We want to try to keep our podcast to 30 minutes a week. Sorry for some of the technical issues when we first started out. I don't typically host and produce at the same time, so that's on me. So I'll get to hear about that from Carter probably when he watches this episode and goes, "You're terrible.
I don't do nothing here."
Yeah. So, but thanks for joining me, Brandon. I appreciate it. One, it's always good to, we live 300 miles apart from each other, so it's always good to talk to you and hang out with you. But I want to close this out with our tip of the week that we do. I have found this one to be kind of convenient. I try to find things that are either convenient that I use personally, or Carter will pull from every now and then, or just nice, neat things we find out about. Had a lot of car issues in the past week with some stuff going on with my car and misfires on cylinders. Long story short, there's a warranty issue in my car, and I'm 15 months past it, so screw you, Honda. I'm not happy about that. But I know how to fix it. But I think anytime you get the check engine light, you're like, oh man, what could this be? It could be of course your car's making has a weird vibration or something. You think the engine's about to explode. I have to stop. So I bought a while ago. It's an ODB sensor. You plug it into your car's computer port. This one's called Fixed, and I really like it. They got a free app. You plug this in. I can connect via Bluetooth on my phone whenever I'm driving, and when the engine light comes on or whatever else. It'll tell me what the code means, and then I can research that on the internet to figure out what it could be. And for me, what it turns out is a lot of times it's just there's a spark plug that gets gunked up with something because of a manufacturer's flaw that they won't honor to fix anymore. So screw you, Honda. But I know how to fix it on my own. It's just change the spark plug out, $7.99. Not going to cost me anything. It's just the convenience and hassle of having to do it. But if you travel a lot, you're on the road a lot. You don't want to have to. You want to know. Go into any kind of repair shop with some kind of clue as to what's going on with your car. It's a great little thing to pick up. I think it sells on Amazon for like $40. Anytime we do these, by the way, we're not getting sponsorship from them. It's just us trying to find some different ways that we found things that make our lives easier. So it can clear out your engine lights if you need to. It can tell you what's going on. It can track maintenance suggestions for you, battery performance, all sorts of cool different stuff. So I'd always suggest, somebody taking a look at these if you ever needed one. Brandon, do you have anything you want to add before we close out here?
Nope.
So
I'm a plethora of knowledge.
So Shadowhorns is asking us, would birth control be a tip of the day? I mean, just I guess.
I can't argue that it hadn't helped me out in life sometimes.
So I mean, I would have to say probably. I think it just depends on where you are in your life. I've got several kids, so it's just a juggle there. But I'm not going to dance on that subject either. But that's it, guys. I thanks for joining us, and as Carter always says, may the force be with you,
and also with you.